Sheila wipes down the last table in the corner. The evening is quiet. The guests have already left. Glass and chrome gleam in the lamplight. She places a dirty napkin on the tray, and suddenly she sees him, a plain white envelope, thick, lying next to an empty espresso cup. It's inconspicuous, but its thickness screams money. Sheila looks around. The room is empty. Only chairs stand on the tables. At this table sat the man, alone. She remembered him. Korean, young, about 30. A cool, handsome face. A perfect dark suit that fit him like a glove. He wasn't talking on the phone. He wasn't looking out the window. He just sat in complete silence for almost an hour, drinking his espresso. His calm seemed heavy as lead. He left 20 minutes ago. She looks at the envelope. Her hand reaches for it. It's not sealed. She slightly folds back the edge. Inside is a wad of money. $100 bills. Lots of them. Sheila's heart starts pounding loudly, right in her ears. She looks around again. No one. Only the ticking of the clock above the counter. She quickly takes the envelope. It's heavy and smooth. She stuffs it into the deep pocket of her apron. The fabric immediately stretches under the weight. She picks up the tray and walks toward the kitchen. Her footsteps seem loud. It seems everyone can see the bulge on her hip. She sets the tray down by the sink. Her hands are shaking. The utility room smells of detergent and old wood. Sheila closes the door, her heart pounding. She leans back against the door and pulls out an envelope. Money, real money. She can touch it. She thinks about her mother. Another bill from the clinic arrived yesterday. A red stamp saying urgent, an amount she won't be able to earn in 3 months. And here, in her hands, is the answer. Sheila closes her eyes. She remembers her mother's face, tired, with wrinkles around her eyes. Not proud, but frightened. Frightened by pain, the future, helplessness. What's not ours? Don't take it, daughter. You can't bring someone else's grief home. That's a phrase her mother used to say from childhood. But is it really such a tragedy? That man in the suit has everything. He even had the look on his face, as if he'd never wanted for anything. For him, it's a small thing. For Sheila and her mother, it's salvation. She stuffs the envelope back into her pocket. The decision comes instantly, out of fear. She can't leave it here. The cafe owner, Mr. Bruno, will find it and take it for himself. She knows it. That's who he is. Better her. She'll hide it. She'll think about it. She'll decide tomorrow. Sheila emerges from the utility room. She finishes cleaning automatically. She mops the floor, wipes the counter. The whole time, she feels a burning heaviness in her thigh. An hour later, the shift ends. Sheila swaps her apron for her old jacket. She transfers the envelope to her inside pocket. It presses against her rib. She goes outside. The evening air is cool. She walks quickly, almost running. Her apartment is a 20-minute walk away in a not-so-great neighborhood. Usually, she's tired and walks slowly. Today, she's flying. She locks the door with all the locks. She turns on the light in the small room. Silence. She is alone. Only now, in the safety of her own 4 walls, does she allow herself to look. She sits on the edge of the bed and pulls out the envelope. Her hands are icy. She pours the money onto the blanket. A stack. Thick. She takes it and starts counting. Her fingers slide over the bills. 10, 20, 30, 90, 100. 100 bills. 100 times 100. $1,000. She leans back. The air stops entering her lungs. $1,000. Lying on her worn blanket. She imagines what she can do. Pay the bill. Buy her mom those medications her insurance doesn't cover. Maybe even fix the leaky bathroom faucet. And still have some left over. And then she imagines something else. That man's face. His cold eyes. People who wear suits like that and leave such sums of money are not simple. They don't forget. They don't forgive. What if this isn't just money? What if this is payment for something? Or a provocation? The thought makes her shudder. She collects the bills back into the envelope. Money no longer seems like salvation. It feels hot, dangerous, like a bomb. Sheila puts the envelope in the bottom drawer of the dresser, under a stack of old t-shirts. She closes the drawer, but it doesn't help. She's trying to cook a dinner, heating up soup. Her hands are doing everything on their own. Her head is buzzing. 2 images constantly appear before her eyes. The first is Mom, her smile when Sheila brings good news, the light in her eyes, almost extinguished by pain and worry. Relief. Real, deep relief. The second is my mother's eyes on that day, many years ago, when little Sheila found a beautiful purse on the street. She ran home, happy, and my mother took the purse, and her face became stern and frightened. This isn't ours, Sheila. There could be documents, photographs. For someone, this is grief. We'll take it to the police. And that's what they did. And my mother later said this phrase: "You can't bring someone else's grief home with you. It will crush you later." Sheila eats her soup, not even tasting it. The envelope in the dresser seems to pulse, emitting a quiet, haunting ringing. She understands she won't be able to spend it. Every bill will burn her hands. Every purchase will remind her not of relief, but of fear, of that man's face, and of the disappointment in her mother's eyes if she finds out the truth. That disappointment will be worse than the illness. A lump rises in her throat. Sheila feels her eyes fill with tears, from anger, at herself, at her poverty, at this injustice. She has a fortune in her hands, and she can't take it, not because she doesn't want to. Oh, she does. She desperately wants to, but because she's afraid. Afraid of that man, and afraid to look in the mirror tomorrow morning. Tears roll down her cheeks. She doesn't wipe them away. She sits at the table and cries quietly, from helplessness. Sheila's eyes are puffy. She barely slept. The envelope is in her bag. She's made a decision. The easiest and the hardest way. Return it. She arrives at work early. The envelope is in her locker, in her bag. She hopes he will return. That man. He will realize he forgot and come back. She will simply give it to her, and that will be it. No one will know. The morning shift is tense. Sheila works like a robot. Every time the doorbell rings, she jumps and glances at the entrance. But there are only ordinary people there. Students with laptops, a couple of elderly women. By midday, hope begins to fade. He won't come. He probably didn't even notice the loss. Or maybe he did, but it's a small thing for him. During her lunch break, she can't take it anymore. She takes the envelope out of her bag and puts it in her apron pocket. She decides to take a desperate step. She'll go to Mr. Bruno, the owner, tell him what she found. Maybe the man left her contact information? Or does Bruno know him? With the envelope in her pocket, she feels a little calmer. The decision has been made. Now she just needs to carry it out. She emerges from the back room into the dining room, holding a rag to wipe down the empty tables. She pretends to work, and at that moment, the door opens. He enters. Songhi, in a different suit, a gray one. But it's him. His gaze immediately glides across the room and stops for a second at her table in the corner. Empty. Then his eyes slowly rise and meet hers. Sheila freezes. Her hand instinctively reaches for her apron pocket where the envelope lies. She wants to go over, to say something, but her feet seem rooted to the floor. He doesn't move. He just stands by the door and looks at her. His face is completely calm. No anger, no worry, just a cold, searching attention. He looks at her as if he already knows everything. And in that moment, Sheila realizes the full extent of her mistake. She didn't just find the money, she stole it. Yes, she wanted to return it, but he doesn't know that. He sees only the waitress, frozen in horror at the sight of him. She's trapped in her fear and that heavy, silent gaze. Songhi doesn't go to his table. He turns and walks back outside. The door closes behind him with a soft clink. Sheila stands motionless. What happened? Did he see the table was empty and leave? Or is he coming back with someone? Mr. Bruno emerges from behind the counter. He is a fat, bald man with a permanent stain on his apron. His small eyes look at Sheila, then at the door. "Sheila," he says. His voice is quiet, unnatural. "You were the last one to clean up last night. Did you find anything? On that table where that Asian guy was sitting?" Sheila feels the blood drain from her face. "What? What exactly?" She hears her own alien voice. "Loss," says Bruno. He comes closer. He smells of garlic and sweat. "He called this morning, asked if we'd found anything. Very polite, but persistent." He looks at her intently, waiting. His tone isn't just a question from a superior. There's a strange, hidden anxiety in it, as if he's afraid of something himself and is waiting for a specific answer from her. At that moment, Sheila understands. Bruno knows. He knows who this man is, or at least he can guess, and he waits for her to say no so he can calm down, so there won't be any problems. The envelope burned her thigh. She could say yes right now, take it out and hand it over, but fear paralyzed her. Fear of what would come next. Fear of that icy gaze from Songhi. If Bruno was so nervous, then her action, returning the money, might be perceived not as honesty, but as an attempt to avoid punishment. It was too late. "No," she breathes out. "I didn't find anything. Maybe the cleaning lady?" Bruno looks at her for a few more seconds. Then he nods, but there's no relief in his eyes. "Okay, If anything happens, tell me straight away. He turns and walks behind the counter, but his gaze lingers on her back. The shadow isn't just at the door anymore. It's inside the cafe, and it lands right on Sheila. Sheila works in a daze for the rest of the day. She waits for the door to open and for Songhi and the others to enter, or for Bruno to call her back, but nothing happens. She leaves work feeling exhausted. The envelope is still with her. She can't leave it in the locker. She can't throw it away. She carries it home like a death sentence. Night. Sheila lies in bed in the dark. She hears every sound through the wall: the neighbor's television, the noise of cars on the street, the creaking of floorboards in the old house. Every creak seems like a step to her, precise, measured, like that man's steps. She imagines him climbing the stairs, stopping at her door, standing silently. She tosses and turns. The envelope lies in the drawer, but she feels its presence, as if it were alive. It changed everything, in just a day. She's wondering how to get the money back now. Drop it off at a cafe? Send it anonymously? But he's already asked Bruno. He remembered her face. He saw her fear. If the money shows up, he'll immediately know it's her. The only way out is to give it to her in person. Look into those cold eyes and hand her the envelope. Admit you took it but changed your mind. Risk everything. The thought makes her shudder. She remembers Bruno's look, his fear. Who is this Elle and Songhi that they are so afraid of him? Sheila turns over and looks at the ceiling. She's reached a dead end. The money that was supposed to be her salvation has become an anchor, dragging her down, and she's chained it to herself. A car passes outside, its headlights briefly illuminating the ceiling. Sheila closes her eyes. Tomorrow she'll think of something, but a quiet, cold dread has already settled inside her, and it won't go away. The morning begins with silence, but this silence is uneasy. Sheila comes on shift, and the atmosphere in the cafe seems thick as syrup. Mr. Bruno doesn't look at her. He's focused on cleaning the coffee machine, his back expressing a complete reluctance to communicate. Usually he grumbles and gives orders. Today, nothing. And more guests. Two men are sitting by the window. They don't look like ordinary customers. They are wearing expensive, perfectly fitting dark suits. Their hair is cut short. They don't talk to each other. They don't look at their phones. They just sit. They drink espresso in slow, measured sips. And they look, not directly at her, but their gazes gliding around the room and constantly returning to her. When Sheila passes by with a table, she feels their attention. It's heavy and indifferent, like the gaze of a security guard on a monitor. Sheila finds it hard to breathe. She realizes who these people are. They came from him, from Sona. They are watching. She tries to work as usual, smiling at customers, taking orders. But her smile is forced and her hands tremble slightly as she places cups on saucers. Every ring of the doorbell makes her cringe. She waits for him to come in. The envelope is with her today. She put it in her bag, deciding that at the first opportunity, she would throw it in the mailbox or wherever. But now she understands. It doesn't matter anymore. They are already here. They already see everything. One of the men at the window raises his hand to order. Sheila approaches, trying not to make eye contact. "Another espresso and a ham sandwich," he says, his voice low and flat. Sheila replies, her voice too high-pitched. She takes the menu and hurries behind the counter. She feels their two gazes following her, as if they're measuring her every step, every movement. She's preparing the order, her thoughts racing. What do they want? To scare her? To warn her? Or just to make sure she's here and she's afraid? Bruno leaves the counter and goes into the back room without saying a word. He clearly wants to keep his distance. This thought frightens Sheila even more. If even Bruno, always so confident and rude, is avoiding these people, then something is very serious. An hour passes. The men finish eating. They are in no hurry. One of them takes a wallet from his inside jacket pocket and places a few bills on the table. They stand up and, without looking back, leave the cafe. Sheila looks at the money they left behind. The tip is big, really big. It's not gratitude, it's a sign that they were here and paid for their presence. She clears their table. On the saucer lies a napkin, neatly folded into a small square. Not her fold, she unfolds it. It's empty, but the gesture itself seems strange, pretentious. As if they've left her a message she can't read. Sheila spends the rest of her shift in nervous anticipation, but nothing else happens. The men don't return. Bruno remains silent. Everything is as usual, but it never feels normal anymore. The air is thick with tension, unspoken. She decides to act the next day. She spent the night almost sleepless, devising a plan. She'll put the envelope in a clean, unremarkable package. She'll go to him if he shows up. Or if not, she'll leave the package with Bruno with a note. Simply, "This is yours. I found it later." She arrives for the morning shift. Bruno avoids her again. She starts work, and in the middle of the morning, when the sun shines brightly through the windows, the door opens. He comes in, Songhi. Today, he's wearing a black sweater and dark trousers. He looks less formal, but no less impressive. He's alone. His gaze immediately finds her behind the counter. Sheila freezes, towel in hand. Her plan instantly falls apart. She can't approach him with the bag. Not now, not in front of everyone. And she can't pretend she doesn't see him. He doesn't go to the table. He stops right at the door. His hands are at his sides. He just stands there and looks at her. Not angrily, not threateningly, just looking. His gaze is heavy, calm, and piercing, like a stone that falls into the water without a splash, but which sends ripples across the entire surface. There's no question in that look, no demand. There's only anticipation. He's waiting for her to do something. Sheila's lungs. She feels all the customers, the sounds, the smells of coffee, everything recede into the distance. Only that man at the door and his unbearable, silent gaze remain. She understands that this is the moment of truth. She can turn away and pretend to be busy. She can try to go to the back room, but it won't change anything. He will come again, or send those two men. Sheila takes a deep, shaky breath. She puts down the towel. Her legs feel weak. She walks toward the door, toward him. Each step is an effort. She stops 2 steps in front of him, closer than with any other client. She notices the fine fabric of his sweater, the perfect line of his eyebrows, the complete lack of emotion on his face. Her voice, when she begins to speak, sounds quiet and hoarse. I found something after your visit, the day before yesterday." She reaches into her apron pocket where the envelope lies. She pulls it out, a plain white envelope, already a little wrinkled. She hands it to him. "Is this what you were looking for?" Her hand trembles. The envelope sways slightly in the air. She waits for anger, a cold, polished phrase, an accusation. She prepares herself for anything. Songhi looks at the envelope, then his gaze slowly rises to her face. He doesn't take it right away. He studies her trembling hand, her wide, frightened eyes. Then he makes one simple movement. He takes the envelope with 2 fingers, easily, as if it were almost weightless. He doesn't look inside. He doesn't check to make sure everything is in place. He just holds it. His eyes are fixed on her again. The silence stretches for a second. 2, 5. For Sheila, it feels like an eternity. In the silence, she hears the coffee grinder working behind the counter. She hears laughter at another table. But here, by the door, there is absolute silence. His face expresses nothing. Not the anger she expected. Not surprise. Not even simple curiosity. It's just empty. And that's the worst part. She can't read anything in it. She doesn't know what he's thinking, what he's planning. And this silence, this stony face, sends icy shivers down her spine. It's more terrifying than any scream. A scream is an emotion, a reaction. But this is nothing. As if she were just an object, a phenomenon that he coldly analyzes. Finally, he slowly places the envelope into the inside pocket of his sweater. The movement is precise, economical, and still doesn't say a word. Sheila doesn't know what to do next. Leave? Apologize? She stands there, feeling like a complete idiot, under that heavy gaze. And then he speaks. Just one word. His voice is quiet, low, without an accent. Why? The question hangs in the air. Simple, direct, like a blow. Sheila blinks. She hadn't expected this. She had expected threats, accusations, but not this simple why. Her mind frantically searches for an answer. Should she come up with a good story? Say she forgot? But his eyes see right through her. She can't lie. Not now. The truth bursts out on its own, in a quiet, muffled voice. "Because I know what need is." She doesn't add anything else. She doesn't justify wanting to return it right away. She doesn't talk about her mother. She simply states the fact. She knows need, and, knowing it, in the end, she couldn't take advantage of someone else's loss, no matter how hard it was. He looks at her for a few more seconds. His face remains unchanged, but something seems to flicker in the depths of his dark eyes. Not a spark, more like a slight movement, like the shadow of a passing bird, too quick to detect. He nods slightly. a single up and down movement of his head. It could mean anything. Understood. Okay. Or simply, I heard you. Then he turns, pushes the door open, and walks out into the street without saying another word. Sheila stands there, unable to move. It all happened so quickly and so silently. 15 minutes pass. Sheila has almost recovered, clearing another table, when the door opens again. A uniformed delivery man enters. He approaches the counter. For Sheila, he says, placing a small, thick craft envelope on the counter. Then he turns and leaves. Sheila takes the envelope cautiously. It's sealed. There's no name on it, only hers. She opens it. There's $500 inside, $500 bills. New, crisp. They're lying there without any explanatory note. This isn't a tip. No one leaves a $500 tip for a cup of coffee they haven't even had that day. This was something else. A return fee? But that was too much. A test? To see if she'd take them? But he'd just seen her return 1,000. Or gratitude? But there was no hint of gratitude in his demeanor. This money, lying in an envelope, poses a new question. A more complex one. Money that can be taken. Which seems to be given for something. But for what exactly, Sheila doesn't understand. She can't leave them on the counter. She can't give them to Bruno. She slowly puts the envelope in her pocket. It burns not with fear anymore, but with complete, utter uncertainty. The next day, Sheila doesn't work. She sits at home and tries to process what happened. $500 lies on the table. She doesn't touch it. In the evening, there is a knock on the door, quiet but insistent. Sheila looks through the peephole. One of the men from the cafe is standing on the landing. The one who ordered the sandwich. He's alone. She opens the door with bated breath, leaving the chain behind. The man makes no attempt to enter. He looks at her with the same indifferent gaze. Miss Sheila. His voice is even. She nods. He hands her a plain white business card through the slot. There's no company name on it, just a name, He, and a phone number. Mr. L asked me to tell you this. He's offering you a position. Office work. The schedule is stable. The pay is significantly higher than your current one. The man says this like a memorized script, without emotion. If you're interested, call this number tomorrow after 10 o'clock. He waits a second, realizing she's taken the card. Then he nods, and without saying goodbye, turns and leaves. Sheila closes the door. She looks at the card. It's smooth, expensive to the touch. This simple piece of paper opens the door to another world, a world about which she knows only that it's dangerous. But the words significantly higher pay ring in her head, drowning out her caution. She thinks about the bills, about her mother, about her tired back after long shifts on her feet. She places the card next to $500. 2 offers, one silent in the form of money, the other direct in the form of a job, both from the same person. Both are scary. Sheila needs to talk to someone. She can't make this decision alone. She calls Marcus. Marcus is a mechanic, grew up in the area, and knows it better than most. She meets him at a cheap bar on the corner, shows him the card, tells him everything that happened, about the envelope, about the man at the door, about the refund, about the $500, about the visit from his man. Marcus listens, his face growing increasingly serious. When she finishes, he remains silent for a long moment, twirling his beer mug in his fingers. He, he finally says, and there's something in his voice that makes Sheila's insides go cold. Do you know him? She asks. Not personally. I know from hearsay. He's not the kind of person you want to mess with, Sheila. Not at all. What is he doing? Marcus shrugs, avoiding direct eye contact. He runs a business, a variety of businesses. He's more than just a businessman. They say he has his own methods. His people. They don't ask questions, and they don't question orders. He's the kind of guy you don't cross. Some say he has connections. Everywhere, including with the bad guys. He leans closer, his voice quieter. These $500? That's not a gift. That's a hook. And this job? It's a cage. First they give you sweets, and then you can't leave. Because you know too much, or because you've gotten used to money. I've seen how this kind of thing starts. Don't get involved. Throw away the card. This money, well, it's yours now, I guess. But don't get involved again. His words confirm all her worst fears, but they also point to the only sensible course of action. Retreat. Sheila thanks Marcus. She returns home. She sits and looks at the card and the money. $500 solves part of her problems. Right now, she can pay the most urgent bill. And the card. The card promises stability. A future. the chance to never look at those red, urgent stamps again. But the price of this future, as Marcus says, is her freedom, her peace. She looks at the phone number. Just one call. She puts the card in the desk drawer. She can't throw it away yet, but she can't pick up the phone either. Doubts are gnawing at her inside, and she doesn't have the right answer. That same evening, Sheila sits in the kitchen, trying to formulate a refusal in her head. She wants to call, say no thanks, and hang up. Keeping the card in the drawer is too dangerous. The phone rings. It's Mom. Her voice is strange. Not happy, but stunned, confused. Sheila, you won't believe this. I just got a call from the clinic. Sheila's heart sank. New bill? Complications? They said an anonymous benefactor had come forward. He paid for my treatment in full, the entire course, all the procedures, all the medications, all the consultations, until the very end. Mom falls silent. You can hear her holding back tears. I don't understand. Who? Why? They said it's a philanthropic foundation, but they won't give a name. Sheila sits motionless, the phone almost slipping from her hand. It's wonderful, Mom. She hears her voice from afar. They talk for a few more minutes. Mom cries with relief. Sheila repeats, yes, of course. I'm glad. Her thoughts are racing. Anonymous donor, foundation. She hangs up. She doesn't look at the desk drawer. She stares into space. She knows. She's absolutely sure. No foundation. It's him. Songhi. This isn't $500. This isn't a job offer. This is the most painful, the most vulnerable spot in her life. And he found it. And closed it. In one move. The feeling that rises within her is complex and frightening. A huge, all-consuming relief for her mother. And then, like a black shadow, an icy horror. Because this isn't help. It's a calculation. Precise as a shot. Now she owes him. Not money, but something much more valuable. Sheila doesn't sleep all night. She paces the room. She's being torn apart. She could take those $500, thank fate, and try to forget. But how could she forget? Every time she saw her mother's condition improve, she would know who she owed it to, and know that this man wasn't a benefactor. His world was dark and dangerous, as Marcus said. She has to. The word weighs heavily on her. She has to at least meet him, see what kind of work it is, say thank you to him in person, and then maybe find a way to refuse, politely, or at least understand what he really wants from her. At dawn, the decision was made. It haunted her, but she saw no other way out. A sense of duty and curiosity mingled with fear. She takes a white card out of the drawer. At 10 o'clock, she dials the number. Her hands are icy. The phone is picked up on the second ring. A male voice, not the one that came in. Smooth, professional. L's office. I'm listening. Hello, this is Sheila. I was given a card. About the vacancy. Yes, Miss Sheila. Mr. L is expecting your call. Can you come by today at 3 o'clock? The voice doesn't ask if it's convenient. It states, yes, I in. Address, North Tower, floor 24. They'll be expecting you. Goodbye. Click. The conversation lasted 20 seconds. Sheila looks at the phone. She just agreed to enter through the open door. And the door closed softly behind her. The North Tower's a glass skyscraper in downtown, a place Sheila only visits to use the restroom in the lobby. She feels out of place in her simple, clean dress and old shoes. In the lobby, she's met by a security guard at the counter. She states her name. He checks the list on his tablet, nods, and hands her a pass with a chip. The elevators are on the right. Number 24. You will be met. The elevator is silent and fast. Sheila sees her pale, tense reflection in the mirrored walls. The doors open directly into the reception area. It's not a room, it's a space. High ceilings and floor-to-ceiling windows flood the space with light. The floor is laid in dark, polished stone. The furniture is minimalist and expensive. The air is filled with the subtle scent of leather and fresh coffee. Silence. A deafening, all-encompassing silence. No phones, no conversations, no keyboards. It's as if everyone here is wearing headphones or simply not making a sound. A woman of about 40 sits at a wide, light-colored wood table. Her hair is perfectly coiffed, and she's wearing a white blouse. She looks up at Sheila and smiles. It's a professional smile, without warmth. Miss Sheila, welcome! Mr. L will be seeing you in a few minutes. Please have a seat. Sheila sits down in the low leather chair. It embraces her softly. She places her bag on her lap and clutches its straps. Everything here is too perfect, too clean, too quiet. This doesn't feel like work. It feels like a scene from an expensive movie, and it makes her uneasy. Where are the people? Where's the usual office noise? Where are the signs of life? About 5 minutes later, the same woman approaches her. Mr. L is ready to see you. Come with me. She leads Sheila down a long, quiet hallway. There are no signs on the doors, only numbers. They stop at door 2410. The woman knocks softly and opens it. The office is huge and almost empty. A large desk by the window, with a chair behind it. A couple of chairs for visitors. An abstract painting in dark tones hangs on one wall. There are no papers or computers on the desk, only a thin tablet. Songhi stands by the window, his back to them, looking out over the city. He turns around. He's wearing his dark suit again. Thank you, Elena. Please close the door, he says. The woman leaves. He gestures for Sheila to sit in one of the chairs. He sits down across from her at the table. He looks at her with his usual, appraising gaze. I'm glad you came, he says, his voice especially clear in this quiet room. I should thank you. For my mother, Sheila says, choosing her words carefully. He gently moves his hand, as if brushing off the gratitude. That's not up for discussion. We're talking about work. I value honesty and efficiency. You've worked at the same place for a long time. That speaks to reliability. I need an assistant to handle paperwork. Boring paperwork, but important. Pay 3 times your current salary. Full health insurance. 9 to 5. Would you agree to a probationary period? A month. He speaks clearly, to the point, without unnecessary words. Sheila nods. She can't find a reason to refuse. Everything he offers is a dream. On paper. Okay. Elena will show you your workstation and give you your first task. 10 minutes later, Sheila is sitting at her desk in her small but equally immaculate office. On the desk are a computer, a telephone, and stationery. Elena brings in the first folder. These are invoices from our import partners, mainly tea and coffee from Asia and South America. You need to verify the amounts, invoice numbers, and enter the data into the system. It's simple. Any questions? Sheila shakes her head. Elena smiles and leaves. Sheila opens a folder. A stack of invoices. The paper is high quality with company logos. Snow Peak green tea, 100 kilograms. Arabica coffee, premium grade, 200 bags. The numbers are big, really big. The amounts for one delivery equaled what she earned in a year. She starts working. Everything matches perfectly. Signatures, seals, amounts. Everything is too correct, too legal. And this is what confuses her. Why would a man like L and Songhi, about whom such rumors are circulating, need a common clerk to check T-bills? Is this a cover? Or is this just one of his many, completely legitimate businesses? She finds no answer, only numbers, lines, and a resounding silence behind the door. A week passes. Sheila settles into a rhythm. The work is monotonous but easy. Her colleagues are polite and distant. No one chats over coffee. Everyone is in their own office. One morning, when she arrives, the wrong folder is on her desk. It's thicker, a different color. Sheila thinks it's new invoices. She opens it. There are no counting marks inside. Inside are photographs, black and white, printed on plain paper. They depict warehouses, large, hangar-like ones. But these are not tea warehouses. Unmarked boxes are visible on the shelves. Some of the photos show people at gates. They are wearing simple work clothes, but their postures are tense, looking around. One photograph shows a close-up of a truck's license plate. Nothing obviously illegal, but the atmosphere these photos convey is one of secrecy, surveillance. This isn't open trade. It's something else entirely. Sheila's heart starts to beat faster. She quickly flips through the folder. Under the photographs lies a sheet of paper with brief typewritten notes. Site 7, North Entrance. Low activity, 11 p.m. These are observation reports. They're not about tea at all. The door to the office opens. Elena enters. Sheila instinctively slams the folder down and covers it with her hands. Oh, you've already started, Elena says, approaching. Sorry, this is for me. My folder. The courier's mixed it up. She extends her hand. Her smile remains even. Sheila hands over the folder, her fingers shaking slightly. Nothing important, Elena says casually. Old archive photos about logistics. A complicated story. She picks up the folder and leaves. Sheila sat and stared at the empty table. Archival photos on logistics. It was a lie. She could tell from Elena's tone, from how quickly she took the folder. She'd just glimpsed a glimpse of Elle and Songhi's true world, and that world smelled of warehouse dust, the darkness of night, and quiet, unseen surveillance. A few days later, Sheila runs into him in the hallway. She's carrying files to another department. He emerges from the elevator, accompanied by two men, the same ones from the cafe. He notices her and stops. His companions freeze a step behind. Sheila, he says. Something like a smile appears on his lips. A slight, polite curve. Settling in? Yes, thank you. Everything is fine, she says, clutching the folders to her chest. Do you like the job? He asks. His voice is even, interested. Yes, she's interesting, Sheila lies. He nods. His eyes look at her. They are attentive, but there is no warmth in their depths. The same icy, reflective surface that was in the cafe. The smile does not reach his eyes. It simply lies on his face, like a mask. I'm glad to hear it. If you need anything, contact Elena. He nods again and walks past, his men following him. Sheila watches them go. That smile. It was more frightening than his usual impassiveness, because it was unnatural. An attempt to appear ordinary. A failed attempt. He remains a mystery to her. A mystery who pays for her mother's treatment and collects photographs of night warehouses. One day, Sheila stays late to finish a report. Most employees leave promptly at 6. By 7 o'clock, the office is almost empty. She walks over to the printer, which is located in a small room with a water cooler. The door to the adjoining room, a glass partition where a sofa and a coffee machine are located, is slightly open. And there he is. Songhi. He stands by the picture window, his back to the door. He holds an empty porcelain cup in his hand. He doesn't move. He just looks out at the darkening city, at the lights coming on. His posture, it's unfamiliar. His shoulders aren't as rigidly squared. There's weariness in them. Heaviness. He doesn't look like a master assessing his possessions. He looks like a man carrying something very heavy and, for a moment, allowing that weight to become apparent. Sheila freezes, afraid to move. She sees his reflection in the dark glass. His face is expressionless, but in the corners of his eyes, in the line of his lips, there's a deep weariness, the kind that shows through when you think no one's watching. He sighs, almost inaudibly. Then he moves away from the window, puts down his cup, and walks out into the hallway, not noticing her. His steps are quiet on the soft carpet. Sheila stands at the printer, stunned by this discovery. He has a weakness. There are moments when the mask slips. He's not just a machine. He's a person who gets tired, someone who's under pressure. This discovery makes him no less dangerous, but a little more real. And that makes it even more unclear. What could be putting pressure on such a person? The following week, she's sent with documents to another office downstairs in the same building. She's accompanied by a driver, a man named Carlos. He's middle-aged, quiet, and always polite. They're alone in the elevator. Carlos stares straight ahead at the glowing buttons. Then, very quietly, barely moving his lips, he says, "You're the new girl, the one who worked before you." She asked questions. Sheila looks at him, but he doesn't turn his head. She wanted to know where such large sums of money for tea came from. She talked about it with someone. She was fired that same day. No one saw her again. They say she left. Suddenly, the elevator continues moving. Silence hums in my ears. "I'm just saying," Carlos whispers. "The work here is good. The pay is good. The main rule, don't ask questions. Just do your job. And don't snoop around. Don't open the wrong files. Don't listen to the wrong conversations. Then everything will be fine. Understand?" The elevator stops. The doors open. Carlos steps out first, his face polite and blank again. "Please follow me, Miss Sheila." Sheila follows him, his words echoing in her head. A direct, honest warning from someone who's been here a long time. These aren't rumors from Marcus. They're facts. Her predecessor was removed. Simple and quick. Work. Be quiet. Don't be interested. Now the rules are clear. Sheila receives her first paycheck. The amount on her card makes her eyes widen. It's more than she expected. Much more. She sits down with a calculator and her bills. She pays off all her debts. She leaves some money for food and utilities. And then there's some left over. She saves for a rainy day. A month later, the same thing happens. Her salary is just a little more than she needs to cover all her modest expenses and put some money aside. She buys her mother new medications she couldn't afford before. She pays for a caregiver a couple of days a week to give her mother a break. Every time a new, small financial need arises, at the end of the month, she finds she has just the right amount to cover it. Not enough to buy anything luxurious, just enough. It's as if someone is monitoring her spending. knowing her needs, and adjusting her income so that she always has a small, comfortable surplus, but doesn't become rich, so that she doesn't have excess money, which breeds unnecessary thoughts and freedom. This isn't generosity, it's control. Precise, careful control over her standard of living. He gives her enough to keep her content and feel obligated, but not so much that she feels independent. This thought frightens her more than a direct threat, because it is invisible, because it is a suffocating concern. One day, Elena comes to her with an unusual request. Sheila, Mr. L has asked you to handle something personal. It's outside your normal duties, but he asked you specifically. Sheila nods, wary. He needs a few books, and he wants to buy a small sculpture from a gallery on Fifth Avenue. Here's the list and contact information. You need to contact me, arrange a viewing, pay from a special account, and arrange delivery here. All receipts and documents are for me. Elena hands her a piece of paper. It has book titles on it, philosophy, art history, and also the gallery's address and the name of a contact person. Sheila carries out the assignment. She calls the gallery and tells the surprised manager she represents Mr. L. He immediately becomes obsequious. She drives there and gazes at a small bronze statue, an abstract curved form. It's beautiful, but not garish. She pays with a check, the amount of which makes her wince inwardly. She orders books from a specialty store. They deliver them to the office. Sheila looks through them before delivering them to Elena. Heavy volumes with reproductions of paintings, treatises in Korean and English. She takes everything to Elena, but a new image forms in her mind. An image of a person who buys expensive, fine art, who reads complex books, who values silence and minimalism in his office. This isn't a gangster from a cheap movie. He's a complex, secretive man with an inner world he never shows anyone. And for some reason, he allowed her, Sheila, a glimpse into this world, to discover his tastes. Is this a sign of trust? Or another way to tie her down? To make her a partner not only in work, but also in personal matters? To make her feel closer, to strengthen the bonds of gratitude, duty, and now this faint hint of community? Sheila doesn't know the answer, but she knows he's more than just a dangerous man to her now. He's a man with layers, and with each layer, escaping this web becomes more and more difficult. Work is becoming routine. Sheila has learned not to ask questions. She completes her tasks flawlessly. The money comes in regularly. Mom feels better. Life seems to be getting better, despite the icy silence of the office and the hidden threats. One night, her phone vibrates on the nightstand. An unfamiliar number, local. She picks up the phone, still sleepy. Hello? Silence on the line. Then a voice. Male, distorted, as if passed through a filter. Emotionless, mechanical. Do you think he saved you? Sheila freezes. Her heart skips a beat. He bought you. For your mother's treatment. For this money. He bought your conscience and your freedom. And he'll sell you soon. When you become useful. Or when you become a problem. The voice pauses. Sheila can't speak. Her throat is tight. You're already in the box, Sheila. The lid will be closed when he decides. The voice says. Click. The call is disconnected. Sheila sits in the darkness, clutching the phone in her hand. The receiver is hot. Her body is seized by a tremor that comes from within, from her very heart. She jumps out of bed. She turns on the light. Her small apartment suddenly seems alien, full of shadows. She checks the door. It's locked. The chain is in place. She goes to the window. Did she draw the curtains? Yes. She pulls back the blind. There's no one on the dark street. Only the light of the street lamp. She wanders aimlessly from room to room. She checks to see if the kitchen window is closed. She looks through the peephole. The hallway is empty. In the silence, she thinks she hears footsteps, breathing behind the door. It's paranoia. She understands it, but the words of the call ring in her head, clear and chilling. He bought you, and he will sell you soon. She thinks of his kindness, of the paid treatment, of the salary that always covers her needs, of the trust he places in her. Is all this a price? An advance payment for a future sale? What does this mean? Will he hand her over to the police as a small fry? Or to someone worse? The feeling of being watched, dulled over the past few weeks, returns with renewed vigor. It's no longer abstract. It has a voice, distorted, impersonal, but it's there. She can't sleep anymore. She sits in the kitchen, clutching a cup of cold tea, staring at the wall. Every half hour, she gets up and checks the door. Nothing changes. But there's no peace. It was shattered by one late-night phone call. The next day at the office, she tries to act as usual, but her hands shake slightly as she types. She catches Elena's gaze on her, watchful, appraising. It seems everyone knows about her sleepless night. After lunch, she is called to see Songhi. She enters his office. He is sitting at his desk. In front of him lies a simple envelope made of thick brown paper. Sheila, I have an assignment. An important one. He places his palm on the envelope. There's cash here. A small sum for a partner. You're supposed to meet him this evening at 6. The address is here. He hands her a small piece of paper with a handwritten address on the outskirts of town. You give me the envelope. You take a receipt, and you come back. No talking, just an exchange. He looks at her, his gaze sharp as a scalpel. If something seems off, if the place seems inappropriate, if the person arouses suspicion, don't make the exchange. Just come back. Understand? His tone isn't warning, but instructive. He's not asking if she agrees. He's giving an order and a clear condition. Sheila takes the envelope. It's heavy. Yes, I understand. Okay. Carlos will drive you and wait in the car 2 blocks away. She nods and leaves. The envelope burns her fingers. This is no ordinary assignment. This is a test. After the late-night call, he's testing her loyalty, her ability to perform under pressure. Or was the call part of a test? To throw her off balance and see how she would react in a stressful situation. She doesn't know what's scarier. The address leads to an industrial zone. Abandoned warehouses, potholed roads. Carlos stops the car at the indicated distance. I'll be here. Good luck, he says without looking at her. Sheila steps out. The evening twilight is deepening. The air smells of rust and dust. She goes to the address given. It should be Joe's Cafe, but the sign is torn down, and the building looks long closed. She stands in the empty parking lot, clutching the envelope. Her heart is pounding. The feeling of wrong grows stronger with every second. It's a trap. This feeling screams inside her. A man in a simple jacket appears from around the corner. He nods to her. She takes a step forward when, suddenly, from the other side, from behind a pile of containers, a sharp sound comes. A siren? No, it's a whistle. And another. And people emerge from the shadows. They're not in uniform, but their movements are quick and professional. One of them shouts, "Police! Hands on your heads!" The man in the jacket turns sharply and runs away. Sheila freezes in place. Her brain refuses to work. The police. They'll catch her with an envelope of cash in an abandoned place. And suddenly, his words pop into my head, clear as a command. If something seems wrong, just come back. This is not so. This is the biggest wrongness. She doesn't think. She acts. She turns and runs. Not toward Carlos's car. That's the first thing they'll check. She runs in the opposite direction, deeper into the warehouse labyrinth. From behind there are shouts. Stop! She tucks the envelope under her jacket as she runs, pinning it with her elbow. She turns the corner and leaps over a pile of bricks. Her feet find their way on their own. Fear gives them speed. She hears footsteps behind her, but they're moving away. She's smaller, more agile. She knows how to run in places like this. Her childhood in a rough neighborhood has given her the skills. After 10 minutes of running through the back streets, she emerges onto another street. There are already people there, ordinary passers-by. She slows down, trying to breathe more evenly. Her heart is pounding. She walks a few blocks, then calls a taxi. Only when she gets in does she realize she's still clutching the envelope. She's not going home, but to the office. It's late, but the light in his top-floor office is on. She enters the building. The guard, seeing her pass and her condition, silently lets her through. She goes up to the 24th floor. The reception area is dark, but the door to his office is ajar. She knocks and comes in. Soon he is standing by the window, just like last time. He turns around. There's no surprise on his face. He looks at her disheveled hair, at her jacket, at the envelope in her hands. I didn't give it back. The police were there. She exhales. He nods slowly. Then he walks over to his desk, sits down, and gestures for her to take a chair. Sit down. She sinks into a chair, still unable to stop her knees from shaking. Tell me, he says. She tells a story. About the wasteland, about the man, about the whistles and the people who came out of the darkness, about her escape. He listens without interrupting. When she finishes, silence falls over the room. It was a test, right? She asks, almost in a whisper. He looks at her, and for the first time, she sees something other than ice in his eyes. Appreciation, recognition. It was a test, he says clearly. Your loyalty. You didn't throw the envelope away. You didn't hand it over to the first person you met just to get rid of me. And your composure. You didn't panic. You remembered what I said and acted. You didn't run to the car, which is where they would have gone first. You chose the hard way and got out. He leans back in his chair. Many people don't make it. They panic, they get lost, or on the contrary, they show unnecessary bravery. You made it. There's respect in his voice. Not warmth, not friendliness, but a firm businesslike recognition of her qualities. She's done everything right by his standards, and this frightens her even more, because now she's been initiated into him. Now she truly is one of them, in some twisted sense. Who were these people? The real police? She dares to ask. He looks at her for a few seconds, as if deciding whether to answer. No, people on contract, simulation, to make it realistic. So it was all a setup, to test her. But the night call, was that part of the setup? She doesn't dare ask. Go home, get some rest. Tomorrow is the day off, he says, his tone returning to its normal, businesslike tone. Sheila gets up and leaves. The respect in his eyes doesn't bring relief. It feels like a new, stronger link in the chain. After the incident, the attitude toward her at the office changes. Subtly, but it does change. Elena smiles a little warmer. Carlos nods almost imperceptibly when he greets her. They trust her with more work, a little more responsibility, but still within the tea and coffee framework. One day, while having lunch in a small cafe on the ground floor of the building, she runs into Anna, the woman from the accounting department. Anna always seemed the most normal and relaxed person there. After getting into a conversation, Sheila says cautiously, as if casually, I wonder who worked in my place before me. No one talks. Anna puts down her fork. She looks around. The cafe is almost empty. A girl. Young. Emily, I think, Anna says quietly. She was too curious. Asking questions. In the wrong places. About documents. About numbers. Said the numbers didn't match the volumes in the warehouses. Elle called her. An hour later, she came out, white as a sheet. They fired her that same day. They said they gave her a good payday. And she left. That same evening, someone said they saw her get into a taxi with one suitcase. No one has seen her since. Doesn't answer calls. Social media deleted. Sheila sits motionless. Carlos's story is confirmed, but now she knows the details. Curiosity. The numbers don't add up. And a sudden, complete break with her past life. This isn't just a dismissal. This is erasing a person, so that she can't talk to anyone, can't ask questions. It's better not to think about it, Anna says quickly, standing up. Bon appetit? Sheila is left alone. Now she understands that her predecessor stumbled upon the truth, and the truth was so dangerous that the girl was simply erased from the reality of this office. What did she find? What's hidden behind the T-bills? A week later, Songhi calls her again, but this time, he doesn't give her any instructions. There's a charity gala dinner at the Grand Plaza Hotel on Friday night. I need an escort, officially, as the face of the company. You'll be representing our humanitarian department. He says this completely seriously. Sheila understands it's a joke, but there's no irony in his tone. For him, it's simply a necessity to have a presentable, trusted person by his side. Me? But I don't know how to behave in places like this, she says. Elena will help with the dress and instructions. All you need to do is be there, smile, answer general questions about our charity work. The rest is up to me. This isn't a request. It's an order disguised as a proposal. But it's also a new level, a move out of the shadows of the office and into the public sphere. The face of the company. This means he's so confident in her loyalty that he's willing to demonstrate it to his respectable partners, or so confident in his power over her that he's not afraid. Sheila agrees. She has no choice. It's Friday evening. The dress Elena bought, expensive and simple, fits her perfectly. She feels like an actress in disguise in someone else's play. The Grand Plaza Hotel sparkles with crystal and gold. Songhi is in an impeccable tuxedo. He introduces her as his assistant Sheila, who oversees our social projects. She smiles, shakes hands, and recites memorized phrases. He behaves differently, charmingly, easily. He jokes, talks about art, about economics. He blends in with this crowd of the rich and powerful. She sees how they respect him, and how they fear him a little. The evening weighs heavily on her. The stuffiness, the fake smiles, the constant feeling that she's an imposter. She steps out of the ballroom onto the large rooftop terrace. It's cooler and quieter there. She walks to the railing and looks out at the city lights. A few minutes later, he approaches her. He stands next to her, also looking into the distance. Tiring, huh? He says. His voice lacks its usual businesslike undertone. He sounds tired, almost human. Yes, she admits. He's silent for a minute. Then he says, without looking at her, "You're the only one here who's not afraid to look me in the eye." Sheila turns her head. He looks out over the city, his face profile sharp in the neon light. "When you returned the money at the cafe, you looked me straight in the eyes. There was fear, but not servility, not a lie. And today, there, inside, you play a role, but there's no fear in your eyes. There's only weariness." He pauses. "And the only one who surprised me. Usually people, they either break right away, or they bend, trying to please. You've done neither. You're just being yourself. It's weird." He says this as a statement of fact. No flattery, no hidden meaning, just an observation. At that moment, he once again seems to her like a tired man at the window, not the master of his dark empire. And that makes his words incredibly dangerous, because they resonate with sincerity. And sincerity from such a man is the most powerful hook of all. She doesn't know what to answer. She just looks at him. He turns to her. His eyes seem simply dark in the dim light, without their usual iciness. "Let's go back. We need to wait another hour." On Monday, he calls her to his office late in the day. A small metal box lies on the table in front of him. He opens it. Inside, on black velvet, lies a single key, an old-fashioned, heavy, brass one. He takes it and hands it to her. "This is the key to the safe. It's in my private office, behind the painting. The one you saw." Sheila looks at the key, hesitant to take it. "In case I'm gone, if I disappear for a few days and don't get in touch, or if something irreparable happens, there are instructions in the safe, an envelope with your name on it. You will open it, read it, and do what it says. Don't tell anyone else about this. Not Elena, not anyone else, even if they ask you." He looks at her directly. "This is a great deal of trust, Sheila. And a great responsibility. Are you ready to accept it?" That's not a question. That's the final line. If she takes this key, she'll cease to be just a hired hand. She'll become, what? The keeper of his secrets? An accomplice in his deepest secrets? But if she refuses, she'll be giving up his trust. And after their conversation on the roof and the test, she realizes his trust is the only currency that matters here, and the only protection. Slowly, almost against her will, she reaches out and takes the key. It's cold and incredibly heavy. He nods, satisfied. "Good. Hide it. And forget about it until the time comes." The key burns in the pocket of her bag. She feels its weight every second. A week passes. 2. Everything is as usual. But the tension is mounting. What's in the safe? Instructions for what to do in case he disappears. What are those instructions? Destroy documents? Hand over something? Or find out the truth about his dealings? She thinks about Emily, her predecessor. She sought the truth and was erased. And now the truth is perhaps being offered to her on a silver platter, but only if he dies or is arrested. What if she looked now? Find out everything while he's still here? While she can still make a decision with the information she has? This is madness. A breach of his trust. A betrayal. If he finds out, she'll be worse off than Emily. But if you don't pay attention, she'll continue to live in ignorance, like a pawn being moved around the board, being the face of the company, but unaware of what the company actually does. What if the irreparable is already near? What if that late-night call wasn't a coincidence, but a harbinger? What if his enemies are already on the move, and she doesn't have time to wait? One evening, knowing he's at a meeting out of town and won't be back, she stays after work. The office is empty. She walks into his room. Her heart is pounding, as if it wants to burst out. She approaches the same abstract painting in dark tones. It's heavy. Sheila takes it off the wall and leans it against the chair. Behind it, in the wall, is a metal safe door. Small but massive. Lock. Sheila takes a brass key out of her pocket. It's cold and slippery from her sweat. She inserts the key into the keyhole. It fits perfectly. She stands in front of the safe. Open it and discover the whole truth. Perhaps it will be terrible. Perhaps it will be such that there will be no turning back. Or take out the key. Leave. Live in a relatively safe lie. Be his loyal assistant, earn money, help mom, and never know what lies behind that door. She closes her eyes. She sees his face on the roof. Tired. She hears his words. "You're the only one who surprised me." He sees his mother's face, full of hope for the future. He hears a distorted voice on the phone. "He bought you, and he'll sell you soon." She faces 2 paths, ignorance with its illusory security, and truth with all its destructive power. Sheila takes a deep, ragged breath, her fingers tightening around the cold metal of the key. She turns the key. A soft, oily click echoes through the absolute silence of the office. The lock is locked. The safe door now stands just ajar. A dark, centimeter-wide gap gapes before it. All she has to do is pull the handle and open it. She freezes, her hand frozen in midair. The scariest moment isn't before turning the key, but after, when the decision has been made, but the consequences haven't yet arrived. They wait behind that thin metal door. Slowly, as if in a dream, she reaches out, her fingers wrapping around the cold steel handle. She pulls the handle towards herself. The safe door opens smoothly, without a creak. There are no wads of cash or stacks of documents inside. There's just one item, a simple, sleek tablet in a dark case. It looks new, unopened. Sheila takes it. It's cold and light. She closes the safe door and hangs the painting back up. Her hands are shaking. She returns to her office and locks the door. She sits down at the table and turns on the tablet. The screen lights up. A fingerprint request appears. She places the finger that held the key, her thumb. There's a soft click. Access granted. There's only one folder on the tablet's desktop. It's called Instructions. Sheila opens it. Inside is a single text file. She begins to read. Sheila, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Either I'm dead, or I'm no longer in control. Either way, proceed in order. The heart skips a beat. The text is dry and businesslike, just like him. 1. In the bottom compartment of the tablet is a new credit card in your name. It contains enough money for you and your mother to live in another city for 2 years. Plane tickets are in the transportation folder, booked for 3 different destinations at different times. Choose any one. Leave immediately, within 12 hours. Sheila feels for the compartment. There is indeed a map there, and a file with the flight reservations. 2. On this same tablet, in a hidden folder called Archive, are copies of all my accounting records for the last 5 years. And actual records. They list real partners, money laundering schemes, distribution points, everything. She opens the specified folder. Dozens of files with numbers, company names, names. This is the truth, the very one Emily was looking for. 3. You must email this archive to the 3 addresses listed in the contacts fee. They are a lawyer, an investigative journalist from a reputable publication, and one person from the police department who is not in my pocket. Send it and destroy the tablet. Physical destruction instructions are in the destruction file. She scrolls further. There are indeed contacts and clear steps. Disassemble, smash the matrix, burn the board. Why do I trust you with this? Because you're honest. Because you have nothing to defend me for, and because if my world is going to collapse, I'd rather it be destroyed by someone who won't mock me, someone who will simply do what needs to be done. She reads these lines again. There is no regret in them. There is cold logic. He prepared a mechanism for his own self-destruction and appointed her to carry it out. Your mother is safe. Her treatment is paid for in advance for 5 years. No matter what happens to me, the money is in a trust fund, out of reach. And the last line, you were a surprise. Thank you. Nothing more. No threats, no requests for forgiveness. Just a plan. Sheila sits and stares at the screen. All the horror, all the complexity, all the layers. It all boiled down to a simple choice. She could take the money and the tickets, erase the tablet, and leave. Start a new life. Forget all of this. He gave her that chance. The easiest way out. Or she could press send and shatter his world. Avenge her fear, Emily, everything she'd been through. And perhaps incur the wrath of his remaining people. Also, a third one. She doesn't know which one yet. She looks at 3 email addresses. At the ticket folder, at the credit card. He had calculated everything. Even this. Even her hesitation. He had given her both a way to escape and a way to destroy him. And a choice. Sheila looks up and out the dark window of her office. She sees her face reflected in the reflection. Frightened, but collected. She takes out her card and puts it in her wallet. She opens the file with tickets. She selects a flight departing in 6 hours to the warm country she's always dreamed of. Then she returns to the contacts file. Her finger hovers over the button to create a new message. The clock on the wall is ticking. She has 12 hours to decide. She puts the tablet aside, rests her head on the table, and closes her eyes. She needs to think. Just a few minutes of silence before the world changes forever, according to her choice.